to my channel. So I finally, okay, hear me out, you guys. I thought of a creative and fun way that we can do our Friday videos. As you guys know, I recently announced that I would be doing videos regularly every Friday. So I thought of Fix It Fridays. You know how they say fix it Jesus or just fix it Lord? Like literally, I will take common makeup mistakes, common makeup questions that you guys have, and on Fridays I will show you how to fix them. So my most recent video, actually not my most recent, but a couple weeks ago, I showed you guys how to minimize large pores, and that was like probably one of the most recently asked questions that had just been popping up everywhere from you guys. So I covered that topic in the video, did really well, and it seemed to be really helpful. Today we're going to talk about concealer creasing. This is probably the second thing that I get asked the most of, and I guess it just never really crosses my mind because I show you guys my technique in all of my videos, but in today's video I want to show you guys a broken down, more in-depth version of why I do what I do, because I have this method down packed, y'all. Concealer creasing, it's just not a guest in my home, and it doesn't happen. So I'm going to show you guys my tips, and I'm also going to be talking about the concealers that I would recommend that will help minimize that problem if you are having that issue. First of all, a lot of people, when referencing under eye creasing, they recommend using an eye cream or a primer. Now I agree with that to a certain extent. I feel like the more creamier an eye cream is, it literally just does exactly what you don't want it to do. I feel like it just mixes in with the product. If you're going to use an eye cream, I would advise putting that eye cream on maybe 10 to 15 minutes prior to you doing your makeup. Let it settle into the skin. Let it do its job. If anything, I would probably recommend a primer over an eye cream, because the primer is what's going to help fill in those gaps and set into the skin, versus a moisturizer is sometimes they don't always penetrate the skin and they just kind of coat the skin. And I really feel like when it does that and it mixes into the concealer, it just becomes, you know, all the movement involved, it just works against you. Less is more. The same thing applies with your eye creams, the same thing applies with your primer, and the same thing applies with your concealers. The less product that you use, the less likely there is going to be any movement or slipperiness or slickness in those products. Less is more. I would recommend building the concealer up to the type of coverage that you want, or just really starting with a light hand and working your way up. Try not to slather too much product on, because the more product that you add, the more likely it is going to move around in that other eye. That under eye is very delicate. It's one of the most delicate parts of the face. So anything that you put on top of it, I mean, it's just gonna move. It's just gonna happen. So for those of you guys that have an issue with dark circles, to where if you just use the concealer on its own, it just doesn't work, and you have to color correct. If you don't know what color correction is, it's basically just kind of working with the color wheel, working with the opposite shade of whatever color your dark circles are, and correcting that area first, then you conceal. I would still recommend, if you absolutely have to color correct under your concealer, again, less is more. The less product that you use, the less likely it is going to move around and be slippery, and it's less likely to crease. So if you insist on color correcting, which is highly advisable if you have deep dark circles, then I would advise using as little product as you can. If you don't have to color correct, then don't do it. Only do it if, when you apply concealer and you still see dark circles underneath, then you would need to look into color correction. I would advise to use a concealer that dries to a matte finish. I'm going to talk about actually my favorite concealers for this method. So I recently started using the L'Oreal True Match. Although I'm not in agreement with the shade that it is, I do find that it sets and dries and stays put. So that is, you know, pretty good. Another one on the drugstore radar is the Maybelline Fit Me. This one is actually a really good concealer that doesn't move or slip around too much. Once you apply it, it's just not going anywhere. I wouldn't really say it dries to a matte finish, but it definitely does not it definitely does not contribute to too much excess movement under the eye. The LA Girl Pro Concealer, I know this is a really popular one right now. This one dries to a really nice finish, not too much movement. I really like the Makeup Forever Lift. This is an oldie but goodie. I don't really use it too much these days, but this one, and I'm working, by the way, in order of my least favorite to most favorite. This one, once it's set, it's not going anywhere. It dries to a matte finish. Anything that's going to just stop and set in its tracks, I feel if you set it correctly, it's not going anywhere, versus the creamier, wetter ones that move around a bit more. So really it's just about personal preference, but this is what I would recommend. The MAC Pro Longwear was one that I hated hated for a long time, only because I did not know how to apply it correctly. But once that stuff is set, it's not going anywhere, and it is a beautiful, beautiful concealer. And then my most favorite of them all has to be the NARS Creamy Radiant. I think you guys probably saw this coming because I've been using this one a lot lately, but it really is true to the name. But it really is true to its name. It's extremely creamy, sets, doesn't move, and just gorgeous. So now that we've talked about what my favorite concealers are and some other tips on how you can decrease that creasing under the eyes, I'm gonna now show you how I apply my concealer to get the best crease-free application. You guys will not regret this. Now watch me put in work. So as you can see, I already have my foundation applied all over my face. If you use a powder foundation, typically you want to conceal first. If you use liquid, you want to conceal on top of the foundation. Today, I'm going to be using this one from NARS. This is the, why am I acting like I don't know the name? This is the Radiant Creamy Concealer. Also notice it doesn't really, as you can kind of see, there is no foundation or product underneath the eye. I usually leave that bare because, as I mentioned earlier, less is really more. So I typically don't do the whole eye cream thing. If I do it in the morning before my foundation application. So I'm just gonna go straight in. Now, I'm gonna show you the way that I apply concealer the right way, and then I'm gonna show you what it looks like when I apply my concealer and it creases. So I'm gonna take a beauty blender sponge. This is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important steps in getting the concealer to prevent creasing, because it really kind of helps you dab and press that product into the skin, versus when you use a brush, it just doesn't really work into those nooks and crannies the way that it really should. That under eye area is just so small, and you really just can't work it in the way that you would want to when you're using a brush. So just press, 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 press until you get the desired coverage. Feel free to redampen your brush. You don't want it to be soaking wet, but you definitely want it to be damp to touch. Now this is what it looks like when you brush this in. Okay, I'm gonna take my Sigma. This is the 3D HD Kabuki. This is the only type of brush that I have that I would be able to demonstrate this step with. But anyway, I don't know how girls do this. It just does not work for me. I mean, I think it looks okay, but it just doesn't really let you get in and apply product. To me, it just doesn't look as blended, first of all. Okay, I don't know if you can see what I see. So the next step, as soon, and I mean, I'm not exaggerating, ladies, this step cannot be missed. Okay, this is very important. As soon as you lay that bad boy onto your eyes, you have to set it with the powder, and I mean immediately after. Immediately after. By the way, when you're applying concealer, I would recommend that you start from the bottom up, okay? This area right here, the area that creases, should be the last part that you blend. Otherwise, if you work from the top down, this part will already start to crease and like settle into your fine line. So immediately take a powder. I'm going to use my Sacha Buttercup, my usual favorite, and I do have a coupon code on it, so I will leave it down below. It's valid for a year. So, okay, very important step. I've been showing you guys other steps. I'm going to do one more quick run through. Press that in again. This concealer will not move if your brush is not damp. I repeat, especially if it's a NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, especially if it's a MAC Prolong where once that product is set, it's not moving. The only way to get that product malleable and moving again is to dampen your concealer brush. So if it's, to dampen your sponge. So if it's already settling in those lines and you just start taking your, spare yourself the heartache. Take your damp brush, press it again, one more quick run through, and then immediately after, press in your translucent powder, okay? Before the lines, those lines can take seconds to form, okay? It happens to everyone. It's a very normal thing. It is a very normal thing. Now, if you use a brush for this step, I'm showing you why a sponge is so important, because if you use a brush, you're not able to get into those corners and really set the product the way that you would want to. I guarantee you in seconds, you're gonna start to see this one crease, okay? But I'm gonna keep working on this eye. Another helpful tip is you can work one eye at a time. Because those products move around so quickly sometimes, you can totally work this one in, get it to set before it starts to crease, press that powder in, and then move on to the next eye. After this video, I don't even want concealer creasing to ever come up, because you can say I didn't tell you, girl. So anyway, I hope that you guys found this video helpful. Please let me know if you did in the comments below. And if you like the idea of Fix It Fridays, please definitely let me know. Give me some feedback on that. If you have things that need to be fixed, eyebrows, under, I don't care what it is, foundation, let's talk about it. Put it in the comments down below, and I will start to think of more ways to do this regularly. If you're not a fan of Fix It Fridays, then tell me a way that we can make our Friday, we can utilize our Friday time more efficiently, okay? So I will see you at the next video. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe on your way out if you haven't already, and I will see you at the next video. Bye.